Hi everybody, it's Blake Hutchison. It's my privilege to be the CEO of OMERS, and I really appreciate the invitation today to say a few words to all of you. This, I'm told, is your first virtual meeting. That makes sense. I have a feeling you'll be doing it in this format in the years ahead, frankly, because it's just efficient. I think we all are going to have to get used to this new reality. Listen, I am so proud to be working on behalf of so many of you who are watching today, our 500,000 members around the province of Ontario. We all at OMERS wake up every day trying to deliver a sustainable, meaningful, affordable pension plan to all of you out there. And particularly those of you who've been on the front line in recent weeks and months, thank you so much for what you're doing for our greater society. I would also say that you would be very proud, I think, of the way OMERS has reacted in a global context to this pandemic, doing its level best to take a difficult situation and make a difference to the societies in which we work and play and invest. And I'll give you a few examples. We own the London City Airport in London, England. When things broke out in early March, we shut down that airport and we turned it over to the city, and they have put it to good use in many, many ways to bring people in and out, to help service their medical community, use it as staging area for ambulances, things of that nature. So even though we weren't in a great position from a revenue standpoint, we put it to work for our society. It's a good example at Hudson Yards, which is a 50-50 joint venture in a significant real estate project in New York. When things shut down, we turned over our kitchens in many of our retail assets to serve food to the frontline workers. And here in Ontario, we own 50% of Bruce Power, as many of you know, providing roughly 30% of the electricity to Ontarians. And they've been big responders and very generous to the province in providing PPE at their cost to the province. And they also have an isotope that is ideal for using in chemical compounds as a cleaning liquid for medical equipment. So they've put that to good work, and again, on a pro bono basis, dedicated it to areas across the province where they can make a difference. I could go on, but so much of our portfolio has been making us proud, and I hope you proud, as we in this global community try to do our best to get through these times. So those are a few thoughts, and I've been asked today to reflect on three things. First of all, how are our governments doing, our Bank of Canada, the federal government, local governments doing in this context during these times? How are we, OMERS, faring from an operation and financial standpoint? And then any observations we have about what's happening to the office market and back to work for so many. So I'll just touch on those three things, and then I'll let you get back to some of your illustrious other speakers. So the first thing is, there are 180 countries in the world. I think some governments have responded well. I think others not so well. I think we should be quite proud of the government of Canada in the way it reacted quickly and with authority. And I particularly think we should be proud of our central bank here in Canada, the Bank of Canada, who within days held meetings with the CEOs of the Canadian banks, the CEOs of the Canadian pension plans, asked what they could do to help shore up our liquidity, to make sure that the fabric of the financial community stayed intact. They moved swiftly. They provided guarantees to the provinces, guarantees to corporates, and really were great counterparties, great partners to all of us to ensure the confidence of the markets could continue through this time of economic suspension. And I had multiple meetings with both levels of government here in the province and federally, and multiple meetings with the government, the Bank of Canada. And I would just say we are blessed to have very competent people who genuinely cared, who looked for solutions in a swift way. And I think as a nation and as a province, we will fare better because of it. In terms of how OMERS is doing, our operation as a global platform has done extraordinarily well. Our IT is functioning properly. We're delivering our pensions to all of you. We're managing our finance and accounting. Our HR teams are looking after the physical and mental health of our people. And I would give our operations a 10 out of 10. And going into these times, you never know until you test the system as we have. But you'd be very proud. I'm very proud. In terms of how we're doing financially, like any pension plan, like any major investor, we have our bumps and our bruises and our black eyes. And I suspect that will continue through the year end. It's just the reality when you get the worst economic meltdown in global history. And so when you look across our portfolio, about 20% of the portfolio is in infrastructure. That asset class has shown remarkable resilience, and our portfolio there has shown remarkable resilience. And I think it's really a tribute to people long before I got here who set us on a journey in the infrastructure space. Our infrastructure team are among the strongest in the world, and that portfolio is showing real resilience. Our private equity business is about 22 owned companies, mainly in Europe and the United States, a few here in Canada. And it's had mixed results because when you own 22 businesses, for example, we own a theater or a significant portion of a theater company in Europe. You can't predict that those 40 boxes get shut down for now sort of 20 straight weeks. So that's been difficult. On the other hand, we've invested in some medical and biotech related companies that have done extraordinarily well during these times. And so it's a mixed portfolio. The good news is the early economic downturn for many of those businesses is starting to show incremental improvement month over month. Some of them are bounding a little quicker than we'd imagined. So again, there will be some impairment in some of those businesses this year, but today we're feeling some sense of optimism on many of them. Our real estate company, Oxford Properties, I happen to have the privilege of running that business for 8.5 years before stepping into OMERS, is also showing global resilience. It's about a $60 billion asset under management company today. It's got roughly $18 billion of OMERS capital of equity in the business, and it's in all the asset classes. So because of the diversity it's had globally, it's faring quite well. Having said that, retail everywhere around the world is hit hard. About 15% of Oxford's portfolio is retail, including we own Yorkdale Shopping Centre, Scarborough Town Centre, Square One with Aimco. Actually, they're a 50-50 partner in those three assets. So our retail is hurting. Fortunately, it's only 15% of Oxford's portfolio, and Oxford's roughly 15% of OMERS. So it will be, it'll show some impairment, and we are fortunate to have quality assets though, and it's only that percentage of the portfolio. In other areas, we're surprising on the upside, including office rent collections higher than we thought. And I'll make a few comments on our resilience from an office portfolio standpoint in a minute. And in terms of our capital markets, again, mixed results, just because we are a long-term investor in the most high-quality stocks imaginable that we've been able to buy over time. And what's happened in the stock market is it's largely been the technology stocks that have rallied to high levels, and many of which we weren't invested in simply because we're sort of longer-term, solid economy investors. And so some of the offset from those won't be felt in our portfolio, but I like our strategy long-term, and we haven't deviated from the strategy. So the mixed results will manifest themselves. It's too early to tell what our returns will be. Again, we've averaged 8% for 5 years, 8% for 10 years. Last year was 11%. And so I like to joke that a quarter for OMERS is not to be measured in 3 months, it's to be measured in 25 years. So we will get through this year. We will put it behind us. We are set up for success, and I would put our investment teams against the best in the world, no matter what happens on a year like this year. just know that everybody's pensions will be paid, and just know that it's not lost on us that the pension promised to you is the reason we exist, and it will continue through this year and next and into the decades ahead. In terms of a couple observations on back to work, what we've found, and I think it's kind of the norm when you talk to operators around the world, there's probably going to be a 20% diminution in demand for office space globally as people and organizations learn to work from home. That's the reality, and there's probably going to be a 10% increase on a square footage basis for office space because you're going to need more elbow room than historically people accepted. And so the net demand is down 20, up 10. It's probably a 10% diminution in space. For Oxford, for example, where probably 40% of the portfolio is office stock, they have the best office stock in the markets in which we invest, in Paris, in London, in Berlin, in Australia, in Boston, in Washington, in New York, in San Francisco, and across Canada. And if there's a 10% fall off in demand, and most leases are 5 years, that's roughly, 2% a year. And what we think is the highest quality office stock will fare much better than that because the mechanical and electrical systems are what people are going to need given concerns about air quality in the future and things of that nature. And so expect some fall off. We do expect a fairly high percentage over time, particularly when there's a vaccine. We'll come back and resume work in an office environment. And I think everybody will want a little more flexibility and a little more choice in the workplace, but the offices will prevail. That's our prediction, that's our sense, that's our view, and our own portfolio we think will do very well in the future, notwithstanding what people are seeing today. And so those are things. I think when you come to work, you will see a litany of new protocols, getting temperature checks, making sure there's proper social distancing, cleaning staff will work overtime in all the best assets in which we work these days. And I think we're all learning as to how we can make the environment safer to protect our customers and to protect our own employees. I know that will be what's on your minds too. And so I think that's those are the three questions I was asked to address directly. I would just end by saying, again, how proud we are to work for so many of you. Again, we wish you the very best. We know there are strains on municipalities here in Ontario and elsewhere, but I think we can fare better than most, and let us know how we can help you in that regard. If there are ever any questions about the plan or how we can do better for you, please reach out to us. Let us know your thoughts. We are in service of you. I would like to conclude by saying AMO have served us 4 directors. Penny Somerville and Michael Fenn are very distinguished board members for us on our Administration Corp board. I work with them constantly. We are lucky to have them. They're representing you beautifully and adding value. And both Barry Brown and Marianne Love are on the Sponsors Corporation board and are equal quality major contributors to that board. And so just know how grateful we are for the choices you have made to work with us as we work out not just this year, but future problems and on a go-forward basis. So with that, be well, be safe, wash those hands, and thank you for being in our life and all that you do for our communities across Ontario. All the best.
Hello everyone, my name is Michael Roland, and I have the honor and privilege of being the CEO at OMERS Sponsors Corporation. Today I've been asked to provide a few remarks to each and every one of you attending AMO's annual conference. And I understand this year your annual conference is being done virtually. I wish you much success in the conference. I've had a chance to look at your agenda, and I think it's a very impressive agenda that will be both engaging and productive. I wish you much success over the next number of days. And as you will see from my surroundings as I'm speaking to you today, I'm operating in a virtual world and have been for quite some time, really since the beginning of March. So I'm standing at home here in my home in North Toronto and happy to speak to you today. But understand the virtual world, and hopefully we will continue to adapt, but I expect for the next short while we'll continue to operate in this way to be safe in large groups. Before I move into some comments about the OMERS Sponsors Corporation, I wanted to share a few remarks recognizing the critical work that each of you do and your teams do in the municipal sector. The municipal sector is so important to all of us that live in the province of Ontario. The services you deliver and the challenges that you face through COVID and continue to deliver those services is something that's been impressive and is really, really appreciated. So please accept my heartfelt thank you. It's something we forget to say many times, and it's something we can't say it enough. So to you and all of your teams, a very big thank you for everything you do on our behalf as citizens in the province of Ontario. Now let me turn to the Sponsors Corporation and give you a little bit of background. And the differences, maybe you'll ask the question, what's the difference between the Sponsors Corporation at OMERS and the Administration Corporation? So let me speak about the Sponsors Corporation. Our primary role is to focus on ensuring that the 500,000 members at OMERS have a secure defined benefit pension plan, both today and in the long term in the future, as new members join the municipal sector and become part of the OMERS pension plan. That is critical to our job day in and day out. And in fulfilling that job, let me give you 3 key aspects that we consider. We think about our role in a very important way. We think about our role in talking about key words, and those words, we think about ensuring that the benefits that are earned by members on an annual basis are considered and are reasonably expected to be meaningful to both employees and employers. We consider that the contribution rates that are made by employees and employers are affordable to both. And third, most importantly, that the objectives of both being meaningful and affordable can be sustained on a long-term basis. Those 3 key words, sustainable, affordable, and meaningful. I'll get back to those in a minute. One of the roles that we do at OMERS Sponsors Corporation every year is we have to assess the financial health and viability of the plan, considering sustainable, affordable, and meaningful defined benefit pension plan. In doing that work, it is important we assess it every year and make decisions as to whether plan changes are required to enhance those 3 key attributes of our plan. And I think the work that we did this year, which resulted in plan changes and a plan review process that concluded on June 24th of this year, is one of the reasons I think I've been asked to speak to you today. It is a very important role that we have in looking at the plan health and the plan viability. And this year we went through a plan review process that started in February and concluded with a decision on June 24th. That plan review process resulted in 5 plan changes being made to the OMERS plan. And those plan changes have been readily communicated on our OMERS website as early as June 24th, the day the decision was made by the SC Board, as well as the summer newsletter that each of you would have received as members of the OMERS pension plan. So that information is out there, and the full details, including detailed Q&A, are provided for each and every one of you. But let me provide some very generic comments or high-level comments about the changes that were made. And they are broken down into 3 groups. The first group are what we call the COVID-19 changes. And those were 3 changes that were made to the pension plan based on where we exist today to put in place temporary benefits effective June 24th this year that address the challenges that are being impacted of members working in the municipal sector that may have been impacted because they had to take temporary layoffs, or they may have been involved in leaves of absence, or they may have had to be in a situation where they took less hours of work, so their pension, their amount of earnings were shrunk. Each of those elements could have resulted in a time when they would not have been able to earn the pension benefits under the OMERS plan. So 3 changes were made, and the details of those plans are outlined on both our website and our member newsletter. But those changes were made on an enhanced and very rushed basis because of the challenges of COVID-19. There were exceptional circumstances, and we had to deal with them on an expedited time frame. In addition to the COVID changes, there were 2 plan changes that were introduced and approved. One we refer to as non-full-time expansion. And in simple terms, what does that mean? It means ensuring that everybody working in the municipal sector can be a member of the OMERS pension plan. That means whether you're working full-time or non-full-time. In the past, non-full-time, there were certain restrictions that didn't allow you to participate in the plan. We didn't feel that was equitable, and we also didn't feel we were attracting all the people working in the municipal sector to participate in the pension plan. We hope this change will actually increase the number of members in the OMERS pension plan. The second change that was introduced is something called shared risk indexing. And in simple terms, this is a risk management tool that was introduced because the plan is maturing. And what I mean by maturity is the plan is getting older. There's more retirees to active members, and that will continue in the years to the future. So we need to build resilience in the plan so that the pension is secure and sustainable both today and 20 and 30 and 40 years from now. Shared risk indexing in simple terms, more simple terms, is the right of the Sponsors Corporation to consider possibly making changes to the indexation. So they may make changes to the indexation on pension benefits earned after January 1, 2023. 2 key words, may. That does say that no changes have been made to date. Those changes are only possible if the financial health and viability of the plan after 2023 require those changes. And that's the key other point. It's only for pension benefits earned beginning in 2023. Both the shared risk indexing change and the non-full-time expansion are changes that only become effective January 1, 2023. And that decision was made very specifically, recognizing the fact that learning and educating people on these changes, building the administrative protocols to put them in place takes time. And that's a practice that we've used at the Sponsors Corporation for years. We don't introduce plans unless there's exceptional circumstances on an expedited basis. So for both non-full-time expansion and shared risk indexing, those changes have been introduced effective January 1, 2023. Shared risk indexing gets a lot of attention because it talks about, may I not get inflation increases on my pension, which is one of the benefits currently contemplated and currently available to all OMERS members. What I would say is shared risk indexing is not something that's uncommon. It is used by pension plans around the world, including an Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, HOOP and CAT in Ontario. OMERS is a little later introducing this shared risk indexing, but it is something that exists and is a good risk management tool. And hopefully in the long term we don't have to use this very often, and it's something that's just there as a belt and suspenders to protect us in the future if the challenges were ahead. But it is something that has been introduced, and more details are available on the website. One of the questions with regard to all of the plan review process that I think is important is the discussions that take place and how OMERS makes decisions, and the Sponsors Corporation particularly. People ask about how do you engage, how do you make decisions? So let me give you a little bit of a background. The process for plan review and plan changes, when we determined there were some sustainability issues, was to introduce 2 plan changes, non-full-time and shared risk index. And we introduced that publicly in February, knowing that we'd have 4 months of engagement with sponsors and stakeholders to discuss those changes and make sure we had a full and complete dialogue before any decisions were contemplated by the Sponsors Corporation Board. It was actually through that 4-month engagement process we learned of the challenges from both employers and employees that COVID was creating. And it was fortunate that we were in an engagement process for plan review, that we could introduce these exceptional changes and put them in place as quickly as June 24th and effective immediately. So that engagement process was very fulsome, started on February 26th and lasted till June 24th, almost 4 full months, and involved detailed meetings with sponsors and stakeholders in forums, which were group meetings, one-on-one meetings with sponsors and stakeholders, and also in interactions with individual members over a period of 4 months. That process that we undertook was very detailed, and the information we gathered over those 4 months informed our decisions and informed the Sponsors Corporation Board before decisions were made on June 24th. And changes were made during the 4 months to clarify and expand on our thought process before any decisions were made. So it is important to understand that engagement is an important part. We don't make plan changes without understanding from you, the sponsors, from the stakeholders, and the members, what is really affecting the pension and what is out there in the long term. So I hope that is clear. But one of the things I want to do, and this is a real shout out to AMO. One of the groups that was most engaged and was most direct with us is your organization, AMO. And big shout out to Brian Rossborough and his team. A real compliment to him for being very direct, very honest, very constructive, not always agreeing, but providing us input as we went through this process. It's a real success in the engagement of partnering with your organization. It's something I've got to learn over the 20 years I've been at OMERS. And in regard to partnering with OMERS and AMO, one of the comments I would like to share with you is my experience in dealing with the nominees that have been provided to both the Sponsors Corporation Board and the Administration Corporation Board from AMO. A real shout out to Barry Brown and Marianne Love, who are members of the Sponsors Corporation Board representing AMO, and Penny Somerville and Michael Fenn representing AMO on the Administration Corporation Board. You should know that all four of those individuals are highly respected members of the OMERS Board and contribute meaningfully in the decisions and the work that is undertaken on behalf of all 500,000 members at OMERS. At this point, I think it's important that I've shut down so that you guys can get back to the more meaningful part of your conference. But a few remarks I would like to provide in closing. We believe in the long term, working actively with you at AMO is a really important part of our dialogue on all aspects of the pension plan. And with that regard, at any point, if there are any issues, we are happy to engage, whether it's positive, negative, or somewhere in between. It's up to you. Please reach out. We want it to be a two-way street. It is a pension plan for the people that contribute. The municipal sector, the employers, they contribute 50% that makes this plan successful. So we want you to be engaged. We want to engage with you. We want to hear from you. And with that, maybe my closing remark would be, thank you again for everything you do on behalf of all of us living in the province of Ontario. We really appreciate it. I do too. And please stay safe, stay healthy, and stay strong. It's important to all of us that live here in the province. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I hope you have a good conference. Goodbye.